Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of From the Heart. And today I will be talking a little about The Boys, the comic book version of it, and in particular just Omnibus 1, Volume 1 or whatever. And I gotta say, I recently just got into comics. I've always had them as a kid, looked at the pictures, never realized that you could actually read them, and that there's actually neat little stories inside of them. But anyways, I love the show The Boys. After the Hero-gasm episode and stuff, and we finally got that final fight and everything, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna check this shit out because I just wanted to know how different it was. And I gotta say, I was super surprised. This is super cool. If you like the show, you're not big into comics or anything, but you really like The Boys itself, I would really recommend getting this. Because while there are a lot of similar events, obviously the show's inspired from this yearbook. But it's also very different. Lots of different storylines going on, lots of different heroes and villains. The thing with this, I don't think there is a single superhero in this that can really be considered a hero. Basically everybody is super depraved sexually, violently, just the worst kind of people you could possibly imagine. That is what fuels you to get all the way through it with storylines such as Tech Knight, whose whole thing is basically it's this jet-powered suit. You can't figure this out. He can't stop fucking things, So basically anything in his eyesight, he's got to get in there. And there's nothing he can do about it. There's some very deprived shit in this book, I've really never seen a comic book this bad that goes through some of the issues that it does. There's a lot of stuff to deal with homophobia, things to do with war, just pure violence, just people being murdered for no reason. Things like Huey and A-Train, they're all the same in this, but done a little differently with Huey. He actually lives in Scotland. His whole thing happens in Scotland, and then Butcher finally hunts him down when Major Mallory gives him some information on how he actually died. I thought that was really cool. I really like Huey's character in this. I think he's a little different from the show. He's a little more skittish, but he's also a little more confident at the same time. It was honestly just a great read. I finished this in about 2 to 3 days of just picking up and reading it for 20 minutes here and there. But you get to deal with things like swinging, Tech Knight, the Seven obviously, which oddly enough the Seven isn't really super huge in this. In the beginning of it, you are brought in there. The cool thing is that while this does run side by side with the show, like I said, it's very different. So it's almost like getting almost like a different multiverse, almost like just a different season. I mean, some of the shit that goes down, I've only seen the Deep in this once. His part in this is not nearly as big. I don't know if he's going to come in one of the other 5 volumes or not. Just insanely interesting. The way Starlight is brought into the Seven in the comic book is very similar to how it happens in the show. You could say 3 times worse. And it really just kind of blew me away how deprived this shit was. I mean, Homelander kind of just comes off as he looks very different. He looks kind of like a Tonka toy version of himself on the show. But man, is he a dickhead. All that stuff is the same. Mostly it doesn't follow the Seven in this one. Mostly we are tracking down Tech Knight. You also get to meet Little Nina, which is very cool. Little Nina is very small in this, and she is a ruthless little lady with some big toys. There's actually this whole arc in this. So I'm gonna end it there. Don't watch any more if you don't want this comic book spoiled, because I'm just gonna start going into things. But I just want to kind of talk about some of the best moments in this I thought were absolutely hilarious. So now with spoilers being said, yeah, this is very different. Things with Tech Knight's, his whole arc is, like I said, he can't stop fucking things. And I gotta say, his whole story arc, you basically kind of find out that why he has this conniption in his brain or whatever is because a long time ago, him and his sidekick, Ladio, well, they have this one chick that they they work with her, but every once in a while she goes bad and they have to chase her down. One tragic night, they're all sitting on a couch after chasing her down, having some beers. She starts making out with Ladio. Now Tech Knight's about to leave, and then he is roped into this and ends up having a 3-way with his sidekick. And this kind of sets something off in his brain that he just can't handle. It was he can't forgive himself for being in that with his little sidekick or whatever. And this goes on. He gets a redemption arc where meteors are starting to strike the Earth. And the thing that happens that is some of the craziest shit ever is well, he knows that these are just tiny meteors, all right? They're not the big deal. So what he does is he goes out into space with his little space suit and whatnot, and he's talking to Houston, NASA essentially, and they notice right here. I'll probably just do some close-ups or something after I'm done with this so you can actually see it. But he notices that there is a 1-inch crevice inside of this thing. And what he does, he goes, I know I can fuck this. I know I can fuck this asteroid. And like, that's what he does. He flies and he extends his pleasure rod, and that's actually what it's called in the book. And he fucks that asteroid to the point where it explodes. He's dirty talking it. He's doing everything in his will to save humanity. He's doing this for humanity. Don't you dare think otherwise. Like basically everybody. So he gets outed. He ends up filing his butler's ear, and his butler's all like, "Yo, your secrets are safe with me, Tech Knight. I've been your butler for 30 years. I would never sell you out." Which is exactly what he does. He goes to all the news outlets and he basically makes everybody bid on the story. So he's outed basically as a sexual deviant and whatnot, a predator, if anything. Yeah, so he is defamed. And the world hates his ass until he eventually fucks the asteroid and makes it explode. He himself dies in the act, I'm pretty sure. And the whole world's just like, you know what, Tech Knight? Fuck that asteroid. They're like, thank you, Tech Knight. We knew there was good in you. And that was probably one of the highest points in this. I mean, it was just so absolutely hilarious on how, like, where they even get to all these. But past Tech Knight, we're also dealing with a superhero named Swinging, who used to be, I believe he used to be Tech Knight's, if I'm remembering right, I think Swinging used to be one of Tech Knight's Latios, which is just his sidekick. It's kind of like a Robin deal where there's multiple of them. They grow up, or they die, and they go off and do their own thing. And Swinging is made by Vaught. Well, he's not made by Vaught, but he works for Vaught, obviously. And Vaught kind of uses him to pander to the homosexual demographic. And in reality, he actually hates this. And he is actually a huge homophobe. And there's a whole arc in this where they kind of realize that they're like wondering whether or not he is gay or not. And they kind of come to the conclusion that, you know, to murder somebody, it doesn't really matter if you're gay or straight. You can just kind of be a piece of shit. So, yes, they find out that he ends up murdering this young boy that has been following him. He's like in love with him, and he's been waiting for a long time to actually tell him that he loves him. Just so many interesting things in here. Now, some differences are in this with The Boys, the comic book. We've waited till season 3 to see this temporary compound V or whatever. But in this, I mean, immediately, that's how they do their job. They use this compound V or whatever. And basically, how everybody's getting their powers is they use this drug, and if it's pure, it stays permanent. But if not, it only lasts like 48 hours or something like that. So Butcher kind of already has a secured line. Basically, on Huey's first day, Butcher injects him with a temporary V. He wants to quit. He doesn't. He's like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah, so that's actually a huge part of this, is they're always on Compound V. It's the only way they can actually fight these superheroes. And you get to see them go against, I can say the first arc was with Teenage Kicks, which has people like Popclaw from season 1 of The Boys or whatever. She's not with like A-Train or anything. A-Train's kind of his own deal. Him and Popclaw are never together in this volume. Get a little farther, and then it turns into this more simpler writing. I don't know if they change artists halfway through. This is an omnibus, so it's like all the comics from a certain period to another period in one. So I'm guessing there's probably multiple artists, but that kind of threw me off and actually maybe a little bit sad, just because it just looks so different. It looks a lot more simpler. But really, I mean, this was one of the craziest comic books I've ever read in my life. And I cannot wait for Volume 2 to get here. I'm really interested to see how the show and the comic itself actually lines up. So, yes, everybody, go check this out for yourself. I think it was awesome. Like I said, I've been getting into comic books lately a lot, just the hardcovers and really good ones like that. I've really been bothering with getting a bunch of like used bullshit. But they've been very interesting. The lore that you can find, the different stories that you can find are quite awesome. This one just came in today, and it's fucking Batman and John Constantine in the same place, alright? Joker is dead. Batman can't deal with it. He doesn't know if he's killed the Joker or not, and Constantine comes in to help him. And I thought that was just like one of the craziest crossovers I've ever heard of. So I'm pretty excited to get that started. I'll let you guys know. in the future. And hopefully I've said everything I wanted to say about this. Here's some great parts where a gerbil comes out of, his name is the Blarneycock, and he is the leader of Teenage Kicks, which is a bunch of teenage superheroes and stuff who are very, very deprived. Kind of like, you just gotta check it out for yourself. It's very different, all right? The things that they get up to. Teenage Kicks is very much about partying and so-called swapping, and yes, the Blarneycock ends up having a gerbil in his ass, crawls out when Huey accidentally kills him. So, pretty cool, pretty good stuff. Yeah, thanks so much for watching, and be aware for the next one, comics, 3D printed stuff, anything cool, painted things, all that good things.